first, like incentive tokens, governance tokens. Why are they important, and why do we need them in DEXs other than just why not everyone just do LP and earn fees?
Yeah, I can take that one. I mean, it's literally in the title, it's an incentive. It's saying, hey, put your money over here. If you put your money over here, you get this extra cool thing on top of the fees. So, if you look at the farms that are on PulseX generally, you kind of get an idea of like what the motivation or like what kind of context the people who are running the DEX want in the background for the entire system, right? So like the incentive token is just saying like, hey, we have some kind of you keep using the word context. We have some kind of liquidity context we want to exist for this chain. And if you support that vision that we have, you're going to get this extra thing. And that extra thing is the incentive token. And so the reason why for example, you have DAI, USDC, Wrap ETH, USDT, and Wrap Bitcoin as such high APRs relative to say PulseX and Wrap Pulse is because we want as much fiat backed or deep liquidity backed coins bolstering up our system. Right, so like DAI, USDC, and USDT can all pretty easily be exited into the fiat system, and so it's giving value to the entire PulseChain ecosystem. And then ETH and Bitcoin, they have basically, as far as we're concerned, an infinite amount of liquidity for us to exit into. So having them is essentially the same as having any of the stable coins. And so you incentivize those highly because you want as much of these coins backing our ecosystem as possible. So we have as much liquidity for people to enter and to exit. Just it gives more legitimacy to our ecosystem, as well as not incentivizes, but makes us more attractive for larger players. Like no one wants to bring in a lot of money and then kind of be like, well, am I going to be able to get out that same amount of money if I put it in? And so like having those pools basically is just kind of pushing things in the direction of we have more of these tokens for other people to redeem as price volatility fluctuates. And then some of the other pools like Ink and Pulse, Ink, PulseX, and PulseX are essentially saying like, hey, we want to bond our liquidity, and like Hex and PulseX, we want to make sure that this underlying pool of value of stables, ETH and Bitcoin, like we have multiple coins in our ecosystem paired up so that you can get access to this pool of value no matter where you're at. I'll let Dylan take it from there.
Yeah. So remind me, RHMax, what was the question here, sir? Because I got lost in the sauce with crypto sloth.
Yeah. Why do incentive tokens? And I know listening to Sloth's voice and him explain all the dirty details makes a lot of us just go numb for a minute. What is the question was, why do incentive tokens exist? Why do governance tokens exist? Why not just have people making LP fees?
Yeah, I mean, Uniswap v3 works just really well, and there's not really any sort of, fee-bearing token, like any sort of revenue sharing or any sort of governance, as far as I know, for v3, right? They were just the first mover. They almost got taken up, I believe, when they were in the V2 stage. They almost got passed by one of the other DEXs. And then they launched V3, and then it was, everything got blown out of the water, basically. So V3 does very well on Ethereum. It is the best one, and it's been that way for a while. Okay, and they don't have an incentive token, right? Whereas, we're an up and coming, we're a new economy, right? We have to make it attractive for people to move over here and come hang out with us. So. Incentive token is just us, like Crypto Sloth was saying, we're just waving a flag, bringing people over here. Like, hey, this is a pretty cool thing we got going on over here. We got a bunch of hot chicks. Come on over. The water's fine. Okay. So that's what the incentive token purpose is. It has an inflation rate and it will inflate to infinity, if I'm not mistaken. So there is that. And then, same thing with Fux. We're basically like, hey, the water's fine. Come dive on in, come have a good time over here. And also, if you take this PHUX token, that is an incentive. You can stake it by providing liquidity in the PHUX prime pool, and then stake that for, a duration of time, up to a year. And then you can get a share of the revenue, roughly 50%. Which is pretty cool to me, right? And then I'm not sure that there is any sort of governance on PulseX anymore or at the moment. There could be in the future. That'd be interesting to see. I think we haven't had any sort of governance since V2B, which, kind of sad to see that, but it's not such a bad thing, I guess.
Well, the governance there would be for the single sign staking, which is not live yet. Is that right?
I believe so, or whichever, like adding farms and shit like that, right? Which I think Richard's made clear he just wants to be in control of that at the moment, right? So, we saw that with the wrapped Bitcoin and stuff like that, which we can talk about. That was an interesting case of what happened.
What happened with that?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think Richard was trying to see what he could do to kind of onboard people from outside the ecosystem by kind of shouting and saying, hey, look, all of this wrapped Bitcoin that you have that is, that you think is worthless is actually worth something. And we're pairing it with the real Bitcoin. You can extract a little bit of value out of this. And so, to kind of incentivize people on the PulseChain side to buy it up and provide the liquidity, he allowed them to farm it for incentive token for, I think it was like 2 days or something. It wasn't very long. And it still has a value right there. You see $51, right? So if somebody had a couple of Bitcoin, they could come over here and get like, $300 or something like that. Which, obviously is not a whole lot of money for somebody that has 3 Bitcoin, but it's still something to where they can dabble in and, come over and swim in the water. Right. So,